Hi there. Devotion today, I want to take you to the book of James. James talks about wisdom in this letter. When James writes, he says in verse 1 in chapter 1, James, a servant of God and of the Lord Jesus Christ, to the 12 tribes scattered among the nations. So, particularly, he was writing to the 12 tribes scattered among the nations because the Jewish people were scattered everywhere and in the time of dispersion. And so, James is writing specially to those people, and he said that you need to have the wisdom of God to survive in this world because there is two kinds of wisdom. There is earthly wisdom, there is heavenly wisdom. And the heavenly wisdom comes from God, and God is the author of it, and He is willing to give to anyone who asks. Let me read. It says, if any one of you lack wisdom, he should ask God. He gives generously to all without finding fault, and it will be given to him. So God is willing to give the wisdom from heaven to anybody who seeks, who asks. Now, there is another wisdom that James talks about is in chapter 3. If you look at it in chapter 3 and verse 13 onwards, he talks about a wisdom that people have. You can recognize it by their life, the way they live, by their deeds. In verse 14, he says, but if you harbor bitter envy and selfish ambition in your heart, do not boast about it or deny the truth. Such wisdom does not come down from heaven, but is earthly, unspiritual, and of the devil. So, this wisdom that the people have already is the wisdom of this earth. It is unspiritual, it is of the devil. That is what James says. So, there is another wisdom that is available that is only can come from God, and God is the author of that wisdom because He is the God of wisdom. So He gives wisdom to anyone. See, God's wisdom, when it compares to the earthly wisdom, it supersedes because you can see it by the action of the people. Every time you look at the people's deeds and the way they live, that explains to us either they are having a earthly wisdom or the wisdom from God. We have to desire the wisdom from God, and that is why we have to ask God for that wisdom. In verse 17 in chapter 3, James says, but the wisdom that comes from heaven is first of all pure. This wisdom is pure. It is not corrupted wisdom. And this wisdom is peace loving. This wisdom is very much considerate. This wisdom is submissive. This wisdom is full of mercy and of good fruit, impartial and sincere. So, this wisdom that James talks about is one of the important things. You can receive it from God if you ask of it, and God will give you the wisdom so you can live a life that is pleasing to God and also benefit to people around you. So you can recognize people by their deeds. You shall know them by their fruit. So if you find people who are selfish and holding on to bitter envy, and they are just so into themselves, and those people are having the wisdom of this earth. It is unspiritual. But there is a wisdom that is available for us, can come from God, and it is very much seen in people's behaviors. They are peace loving, they are pure, it is considerate, it is submissive, full of mercy and good fruit, and impartial and sincere. That kind of a wisdom is what we need to seek after. How can you receive it? You can receive it by asking God. Say, God, I need your wisdom. Please give it to me. Because that's the same God who gave the wisdom to Daniel, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. And they were in a foreign land, and God gave them the wisdom and understanding. Same kind of wisdom can be available for you if you ask Him. Maybe this morning, as you check yourself whether you are holding on to selfish ambition, and are you harboring bitter envy in your heart, or if you have the wisdom that comes from God, that is peace loving and not selfish, it is considerate and submissive to God and full of mercy and full of good fruit, and it will be benefiting to people around you. May God bless you as you reach out to Him and ask Him for wisdom from heaven, and that wisdom will help you day after day to grow in the Lord and be a beneficial person to others who live with you. And there is another verse in verse 18. It says, peacemakers who sow in peace raise a harvest of righteousness. This wisdom helps you to sow peace, not disharmony, but peace in the hearts of people. And then the result will be you will harvest righteousness in your day to day life. God bless you today as you enjoy His wisdom that comes from Him.